This could change everything, but is it true? Could the Saudis and Israel, with the help of the United States, make a deal to bury the hatchet? The State of Israel established in 1948, and since then, Saudi Arabia and Israel have never had any diplomatic relations. So the headline today in the Wall Street Journal is a stunner. It reads, U.S.-Saudi Arabia agree to broad terms for Israel normalization. The article goes on to say U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on the broad contours of a deal for Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel in exchange for concessions to the Palestinians, U.S. security guarantees, and civilian nuclear help, according to U.S. officials. Now, that is giant news, something most Middle East experts have said would never happen. Well, hold your horses, because the White House National Security spokesperson, Admiral John Kirby, is throwing some cold water on the journal's reporting. According to Bloomberg, spokesperson Kirby told reporters, quote, there is no agreed-to set of negotiations. There is no agreed-to framework to codify normalization or any of the other security considerations that we and our friends have in the region. And it is important to note the Wall Street Journal has since changed the headline of that article. It now reads, Saudis agree with the United States on path to normalize kingdom's ties with Israel. Former National Security Advisor to President Trump and former United States Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, joins me. So good evening, sir. And so where are we? Are there chances there will be a normalization, do you think, between Saudi Arabia and Israel? And is the U.S. brokering this?
Well, I do think that that there's a good chance at some point that the Israelis and Saudis will normalize relations, as Israel has done with Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, two other oil-producing monarchies in the Gulf, and with several other Muslim majority population nations. But I don't think it's as close as at least the first headline made it seem. And I think there's a risk here that by adding in 5 or 6 or 7 issues to get to normalization, the whole process could break down. Many people have speculated that the Saudis in effect agreed for Bahrain, for example, to go ahead and recognize Israel. Bahrain very close to the Saudi government, and that the Saudis themselves may wait until Mohammed bin Salman, the current crown prince, becomes king. So there's a passage of time as much as anything else. I think it's a good thing for the U.S. to be in better discussions with Saudi Arabia than we've been since the beginning of this administration. And as I say, I hope they get to normalization, and the sooner the better. But I'm not waiting up at night for the headline.
All right, it's sort of interesting. There's so many complicated factors. For one, is it doesn't say what Israel gives up in this, and it's obviously the whole Palestinian issue in the West Bank and the Israeli settlements is a giant part of that. Then you've got what does the U.S. get out of that? First of all, we're dealing with a country that chopped up a journalist and stuffed him in a bag, an American Washington Post reporter. We haven't heard much about that. They've got so many of the connections to intel, Saudi intel with 9/11. We haven't gotten I don't think a full accounting there. The U.S. wants Saudi Arabia to increase they've been reducing their production of oil, which now U.S. wants to increase, which does 2 things. One is it's going to lower the price of oil here in the United States, and then we don't have to produce it to dirty up our immediate environment, let the Saudis do it. And I don't know what the Saudis are getting out of this.
Well, I think part of this, frankly, is the fault of the Biden administration. They came into office essentially telling the Saudis and the other Gulf Arab states, we're going to put you out of business because you produce oil and gas, and that's nasty, and we don't like it, number one. And then number two, they proceeded to tell not only the Gulf Arabs, but Israel, we are going to deal with your worst enemy in the region, the Iranians, and go back into the 2015 nuclear deal, which was a bad idea to begin with, without doing a thing about Iranian terrorist activities. So I think the Biden administration pushed the Saudis away from the United States. They, the Emiratis, others in the Gulf think that the United States has become feckless under this president. They have, in fact, caused part of the problem that keeps the Saudis and the Israelis from normalizing.
But in recent time, very recent time, Saudis and Iran are now gotten to be friends, which is sort of an interesting friendship.
What? Well, it just shows that they and others are trying to hedge their bets. They view China as an oil market, and they don't want Iran and, by the way, Russia to become the dominant suppliers. I think the Saudi-Iran...
But wait a second. But then that creates a real problem for Israel, since Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map. I mean, that's their words, not mine.
Yeah, look, the Saudis' long-term interest does not lie with China, neither does the United Arab Emirates or any of the others. But it shows how fed up they are with the Biden administration that they want to hedge their bets. I think it's very dangerous for them, and I would tell them that this is the wrong policy to pursue, but it's because of frustration with the White House today. So I'm happy, actually, the White House is talking to the Saudis. Maybe they'll start acting like the strategic allies that they are, and they are, despite what happened to Khashoggi and other things that happen in the kingdom. I think the Crown Prince does want to modernize. I think he does want to normalize relations with Israel. There's a lot there economically for both sides. But I don't think trying to squeeze every issue between the three countries involved is going to facilitate getting to normalization.
Ambassador John Bolton, thank you, sir.
Thank you.